All right. Good Yom Tov, Chag Sameach. It's heartwarming that we're sitting over here in a shul in Brooklyn on a cold winter night. And like Vlad, who's also a neighbor over here, a fellow Russian Yid who's coming closer to Yiddishkeit. He has a wife and a son. He puts on tefillin every day. And I put up mezuzahs in his house. And interestingly, I put up a mezuzah on Vlad's bedroom and a mezuzah by the front door. And then I get a frantic call from him a few days later that Benjamin, their only son, is crying, "What about a mezuzah from my bedroom?" Imagine, a Jewish child who for the time being is in public school, wants a mezuzah. So I ran back with a mezuzah. So it's heartwarming that we're all here, and Vlad tells me before that he's warm in here. So I said, I know, I feel inspired. He said, no, Rabbi Zalman, I mean the steam is good.
I also said that the other part is default.
That's right. Yes. But I think that the people behind the scenes, who I like mentioning, even though they're supposed to be behind the scene, like Heidi and Jeff, these people are ensuring that we have this platform to get together all the time and do good deeds and unite. So, I have a little story for you that highlights the meaning of the night. And the story goes like this. There is a book called Likutei Sipurim, a gathering of stories. Interestingly, this book was put together by none other than Frumi's great-grandfather. And his name was Reb Chaim Mordechai Perlov. He authored a sefer, a book on halacha, which I hear till today many rabbis use it. But interestingly, at a young, tender age, in his teens, he encountered one of the legendary storytellers that lived in Eastern Europe, whose name was Reb Groinem Esterman. Esterman was his last name, and like a sponge, he remembered and in his mind and eventually wrote down all the stories he heard from this Reb Groinem. The reason why Reb Groinem, from his great-grandfather's teacher, was legendary was because his stories were not fairy tales. They were fantastic stories, but they weren't fairy tales, because he was a very big person himself, and extremely intelligent, who you would think you would think he's even cynical, not to believe in just any Baba Maisa. Yet he wrote these stories, and these stories are reliable. A story in that book goes as follows. He says, we all heard fantastic stories about the Baal Shem Tov. Rabbi Yisrael Baal Shem Tov, big miracle worker. He started Hasidus. All the Rebbes from Williamsburg to Borough Park to Lubavitch, it all stems from the Baal Shem Tov. And he indeed was one of the greatest revolutions and great people that came in the last few hundred years. And he says the following story, that the Baal Shem Tov, the holy Rabbi Yisrael Baal Shem Tov, was once sitting in his shul in Mezhibuzh, a town in Russia. And as he's sitting there, in the window, a black dog appears, standing on its hind legs, and he looks at the Baal Shem Tov, and he speaks. Now, if you know stories of the Baal Shem Tov, they're fantastic stories anyways. So it's not surprising that he met a dog that speaks. But hear what the dog has to say. He says to the Baal Shem Tov, "Du tipas rucha, you lowly human, made out of dust. how dare you bring me down to the earth? I have only been on earth 3 times since creation of the world. All other times, I do it with emissaries. I come here through sending emissaries, not through coming myself. How dare you? You're not afraid of me? So Reb Groinem, and therefore our great-grandfather explains that this dog, this black dog on his hind legs, was the Satan, was the ultimate angel that Hashem created in the beginning of creation. He was negative. And the Baal Shem Tov did whatever he did, and he summoned the Satan down to a little town in Russia because he needed him for something. Hence, the dog's anger. How dare you? You're not afraid of me? You're not afraid to bring me, myself, down here? I only came down, he said, when Adam and Chava ate from the tree. That's one time I came down with that Yetzer Hara, with that lizard. I convinced Chava to eat from the tree. There's very few times I've been on earth. Who are you? You're not afraid? So number one, just to set the record straight. So number one, to set this record straight, says the Baal Shem Tov to the dog, I'm not afraid of anyone besides Hashem. Just to set the record straight. You could bark, but you're not going to scare me at all. So you want to waste time together now, 20 minutes or an hour or 2 hours, asking me to get scared of you or trying to? It's not going to work. I'm a Jew, and I know everything that happens in my life comes from Hashem. If anybody ever, God forbid, hurts me, tries to hurt me, it's Hashem's plan. So the dog said, granted. He took him for his word. I guess he saw how the Baal Shem Tov said it, and he said, so what do you want from me? Oh, now we're talking business. Baal Shem Tov was like, finally, we're having a conversation. But what do you expect from the Satan? But interestingly, in Judaism, we don't say the word Satan. We say Samach Mem. So I'm going to say that. You're not supposed to say his name. Even though, again, Satan, his only power is power from Hashem. He's not hurting anybody. He doesn't get close to you. So the Samach Mem says, what do you want from me? So the Baal Shem Tov tells him, Lazarois the Schlüssel von Chassidus. Release to me the key to Hasidic thought. You hear what's going on? The Baal Shem Tov, who taught Hasidus to the whole world, and it's in every book from Eichler's and online, and everybody's affected by Hasidus now. Every single Jew who opens up anything religious is directly or indirectly feeding off, nourishing off some remote or popular teaching of the Baal Shem Tov, which came through the Tanya later. That's what Tanya is. It's just Baal Shem Tov explained. The whole Hasidus comes from Baal Shem Tov. And here, this Samach Mem is somehow holding the key to Hasidic teachings. And it's in the book of Frumi's great-grandfather. I have it at home. That the Baal Shem Tov, and he heard this from this legendary storyteller, that the Grein released the key of Hasidus. And Frumi's grandfather writes like this: V'hoitzi bela mipiv. The dog spat out something. Something came out of its mouth. And he doesn't say what it is. So her grandfather says that the legendary storyteller, who again was a brilliant scholar in his own right, with Greinem, said the Hasidim had a tradition that what the dog released was the soul, the neshama, the holy neshama of the Balatanya. So you have here the ultimate enemy of the Jews in heaven, holding on tight in his belly, so to say. It's not literal, but the concept is absolutely true. He's holding on tight with all its might that the Balatanya, the Alter Rebbe's soul, should not come down to the earth. You know why? Because when it does, Vlad is going to put on tefillin, and we'll all be affected by it. But we won, and the Alter Rebbe was born. And We're all impacted by the Alter Rebbe. And what we're supposed to take away from the Alter Rebbe is that you're never going to be able to win over the heart of a Jew. It could be a tremendously unaffiliated Jew who doesn't walk to shul even on Yom Kippur. The moment he's exposed or she's exposed to authentic Yiddishkeit, their neshama will come out. Their love to Hashem is going to shine. Tanya, which the greatest forces of evil were afraid of, Tanya is there for one purpose: to reveal the Jewish neshama's feelings that every single Jewish man and Jewish woman possess, which is a very deep love to Hashem. So we're many times, the way we operate is we love Hashem because it's a give and take relationship. And it really is. I love Hashem. In other words, I love Hashem because He takes care of me, right? I love Hashem because He gives me food. I love Hashem because He gives me health. It's a give and take relationship, so I love Him. That's only a very small preview of the love of a Jew to Hashem. Comes the Tanya, the Heilige Alter Rebbe, and he teaches every single Jew, you love Hashem because Hashem is in you. The infinite, true Hashem, who has no end, no limitations, no definitions, he's not anybody, he has no form, he's pure infinite light. This God, this Hashem is in the heart of yours, and therefore you feel His presence. And you by nature have real love to Hashem, regardless of give and take. Not because He takes care of your health, not because He gives you nachas, not because He gives you parnasa. That's not the reason why your heart, in your depth as a Yid, your Jewish heart loves God. You love Hashem just because you love Him. You come from Him. You know, a child thinks that they love Hashem because of the treats that they get from their parents. That they love their parents because of the trip that their parent takes with them. The child thinks, I love Tati and Mommy because they're so nice to me. That's true, but it's much deeper than that. And as they will grow, it will be revealed within their own conscious heart that they love their parents just because they're their parents. Because you're my father, because I come from you and you're my mother, I deeply, inherently, I just love you naturally. Just like your body comes from your parents, your Jewish neshama comes from Hashem, says the Tanya. So you have a deep, inherent love to Hashem. You have a deep, inherent love to Hashem naturally. You just love Hashem because your neshama is a piece of Him. And like a spark going towards a fire, the Alter Rebbe gives a very interesting example. He says, according to Kabbalah, there is a space around the moon where fire comes from. Maybe science will find it eventually. Maybe they found it already and I'm not aware of it. I didn't come across it. That the source of general flames is under the Galgal HaYerech, is under the moon. That's what he says, and don't discount it. When our sages say in the Gemara that there's more water in heaven, than on earth. Oh, everybody was laughing at the Jews when they read it in Chumash that Hashem divided the waters of the heaven and earth, and right away our sages said there's much more water in heaven than, the Jews believe in a bunch of, and now, open up a book of science, everything is made out of ice in heaven, all the rings, endless galaxies, there's much more water in heaven than our little planet, than all our oceans put together. So I'm sure there is a source of fire somewhere in the atmosphere, and the Alter Rebbe says that that's why when you light a candle, it's always trying to go upwards. It's trying to go back to its source. That's the nature of everyone. You want to go back, you yearn for your source. That's why you love your parents. That's why a Jew loves God. Not just because give and take, not just because He gave us all the nachas and all the food and all our friends. You love Hashem because your neshama was literally taken from Him and He put it into you, hence you're Jewish. If you're born from a Jewish mother, you inherited a Jewish neshama. And that neshama is yearning for Hashem. It's tremendous. You have an infinite fountain of love to Hashem in you as a Jew. And this applies to any Jew you know at work. And if you ever have a conversation with someone who's so-called a secular, we don't like saying titled Jew, we don't like saying titles, but so-called a secular Jew at work, the moment you're starting the conversation, you already have the upper hand. Because at the end then, it could take a year, the person is going to realize that they have Hashem in them. They have a piece of HaKadosh Baruch in them, and that they love Hashem like you, even though you're begging them to realize it. So, that's also a success of Chabad rabbis all over the world. People, reform movements were saying, how are Chabad so successful? They still have a mechitza, and we're compromising, and we're not drawing such crowds. And the answer is, there's no secret. The secret is that we know when we approach a Jew that he or she wants to be frum, because their neshama loves God. And the only way to connect to Hashem, if you love Him, the only way to please Him when you're aware and you're in tune with your love to Hashem, is by doing His will. So ultimately, you have it's a success from the beginning. You have a victory from the beginning. You'll bring Him closer, because that's the fact. So what do we walk away from on a night like tonight? I was talking to Frumi. What's a practical way to help us realize we love Hashem also emotionally, not just for what He gives us? We just love Him naturally. So I guess the simple solution to this, simple tool to this, moving forward from the 19th of Kislev, when the Alter Rebbe went out of prison. So the simple tool would probably be to study Tanya. Because you see, once the Alter Rebbe, this soul, came to the world, so he taught Tanya. And in Tanya, once you learn Tanya, he speaks about these subjects. So that will keep you informed. So if you go online, there's audio lessons on the daily portion of Tanya. Tanya was divided into daily portion, and they finish it once a year. They finished it yesterday. It restarted the cycle of daily portion of Tanya today. So actually, if you're going to go online and write daily study Tanya, let's say, you're going to find both audio lessons and English explanations that you could read of the daily Tanya. And if you start today, you're not even going to miss. You're going to end up next year at this time having completed the whole Tanya. So that's very, very, very highly recommended. It literally takes 5 minutes of your day. To learn Tanya every day is going to really help your life. You'll feel like a yid. It's very spiritual. The only thing I would say is, I was talking to Robin Kaplan, Baruch Hashem, Frumi Center, Lakavet Shabbos. We went to her building, Shishav Refuah Shlema. I was talking to her about the Tanya, and she told me that sometimes when you read the Tanya, so it's hard to understand without a teacher. I agree with her. So that's why I do recommend. There was a fellow, his name was Rabbi Josh Gordon. He has the daily portion. He passed away already, but they have his recordings, the daily portion of Tanya every day. He explains it in English while you say the words in Hebrew. But either way, you'll find your way if you look for the daily Tanya. Make sure you don't end up with some African-American girl singer named Tanya, okay? I don't want any of you coming to me like in 6 months. Rabbi Zalman, she really sings well every day, Yeah. And because of me, you listen to Tanya singing for 6 months. I don't know if that's the mitzvah I want for the 19th of Kislev. But I will say at this time, we do have a lesson. It's on the men's side. It's really for men. In Tanya every Shabbos morning over here from 8:30 to 9, Daniel's lesson, and it's going strong. We have a few people regularly attend, and it's very nice. It's a half an hour quietly in one of the front benches. You could attend that, but don't wait for that. Try to do Tanya, because again, if you start the daily Tanya today, you are going to finish the complete Tanya, and in one way or another, it's going to have a very positive impact on you, and I'm sure it's also going to bring you. Let's talk about give and take for a second, some good brachas in your life. There's no question that only goodness could come out of it. The Alter Rebbe went out of prison today, because just like the Samach Mem, that dog didn't want to let his soul be born into the world. So also, that same Samach Mem, he sent emissaries to fight the Alter Rebbe, and they imprisoned him. Even some great rabbis heard gossip about him, and they helped, not really many great rabbis, one or two, but I'm saying that the forces against him bringing love to God, to a Jew, were so strong that he had different emissaries who ended up imprisoning him. But by the end, he was completely free, and all the ministers in Russia were shocked that he was free, that he was completely innocent, and they were talking about what a miracle is that this rabbi who they're saying is trying to overturn the Russian Tsar, Paul I, and he's trying to support the Turkish Sultan, whatever nonsense conspiracy there was. But that's the story, it's the best way to get someone in prison. Chas v'shalom. So the whole government of Russia was talking about the miracle of the Alter Rebbe going out of prison. There is a known fact said by tzaddikim that the reason the Alter Rebbe went out of prison today is because in heaven they made a decree that he should be able to teach Chassidus even to laymen, even to people like us. And the reason he went to prison, because no one could harm you in any way. Anything that happens to us is with Hashem's will. The reason he went to prison is because he was disseminating secrets of the Torah to simple people. And therefore the reason he went out of prison is because right now every Jew could learn Chassidus, every Jew has a right to learn Tanya and should learn Tanya, and this will completely elevate the Jewish people and bring us already to Eretz Yisrael, B'karav Mamish. So thank you very much to Frumi for preparing this. Thank you very much for such a beautiful... And thank you very much for such a beautiful crowd for coming out today. Now we're going to have a small musical presentation by the Little Drizzen Kinderlach in honor of you, in honor of Yitzhak Kislev. Okay. The song we're about to sing.
Is it part of the Shalom?
Yes, it's part of the Shalom. Yes, you can take a
find in chapter 55. Don't hang it to Hilton.
So the Alter Rebbe, the Baal HaTanya, he says when he was sitting in prison, while the whole Russian government was against him, and he knew from heaven that this was a decree against teaching Tanya to every Jew, like we said until now, and then he was saying to Hillel, because what does a Jew do when they have a problem? You say Psalms. And as he said to Hillel, he said he was reading the verse in chapter 55 of Tehillim, which says that King David said, David HaMelech, Tadav v'shalom nafshi, please redeem me peacefully. Before I even began the next verse, Yatsasi b'shalem, I was free. He was freed by this chapter of Tehillim while reciting it, and in this chapter itself, while reciting this part of the chapter that begins with redeem my soul peacefully. So it starts with words Padu Shalom Nafshi, please read redeem my soul peacefully, and that's when he was freed. So all the tzaddikim after made a song out of that chapter, which starts with a request, with a sad tune, please redeem my soul, Hashem. By the end, it ends with joy because he was redeemed actually. Ready?
I think you're still on. You're still on the.
Yeah, you should close it. Thank you.
Very nice. Very nice.